Intelligent people ruin their lives and restrict their personal growth through cynicism, but they shouldn't, because cynicism as a philosophy should aid your personal development rather than halt it. So in this video, I'm going to explain some of the core tenets of cynicism and why that philosophy can actually aid you in your personal development and help you in your personal and business growth rather than making you live depressively. And as a starting point, I'm going to address how most of us actually understand cynicism and then go into what it is a little bit. And I also want to make this clear, I'm not a philosophy expert. I studied philosophy at A level and I did philosophy modules alongside my law degree at university, and I dabble in philosophy now to influence my coaching that I do with my clients and also just for my own personal growth. But I want to make it really clear, I'm not an expert on cynicism. I just have a base level of knowledge, and I am going to be reading a bit off my notes that I've got in front of me because the knowledge of it was pretty rusty and I had to refresh on it. But let's start with it. So cynicism, as how most people understand it generally, is people who are cynical. They view the world negatively and critically. They don't trust people. They always see that there's malicious intentions behind people's behaviors and everything is self-interested. It creates a very pessimistic view of the world. That is how most people understand it. It's like a pretty extreme form of skepticism. And there is an element of that critical lens in cynicism as a philosophy, and that is where intelligent people in particular, who are often more prone to things like depression and actually not making money and succeeding in business, this is where it can come in because it can stand in the way. They just become so hung up and skeptical and cynical of everything that they become focused on being right and being too caught up in the thinking and the intellectuality rather than the doing and the growing. But cynicism as a philosophy could actually help you and should help you with your personal development, and there's a lot of virtue in it. So what really is cynicism? In short, cynicism is an ancient Greek philosophy that tends to be associated with a guy called Diogenes, who was pretty much a bloke who used to live in a jar and flash his knob in public all the time to make a statement about rejecting societal norms, which is one of the key tenets of cynicism. But getting into why it can actually help you is cynicism as a philosophy advocates for values such as self-reliance, living in accordance with nature, and rejection of materialism. So things that really make a lot of sense in the present world, and they always have done throughout humanity, but particularly living in accordance with nature, which is one of the biggest problems that people face today in an increasingly urbanized world and digitalized world, where so many people, they are just removed from that relationship that we have as human beings, as Homo sapiens, with the earth and the universe that we are part of in that ecosystem, despite how we have this egoic tendency to look at everything anthropocentrically and just assume that humans are above and separate to nature. We really fucking aren't. We are part of it. And this is where cynicism has benefits as a philosophy, in that it can encourage you to regain your relationship with nature, get back in touch with it again, which has been shown scientifically to have a positive impact on people's well-being, particularly people who are prone to things like depression. Getting out in nature, it can really improve their mood. So that's one example of how cynicism can actually help people, if you understand that it's advocating for more than just being critical of the world. I guess a key thing to take away from this is there's the criticism and then there's what you do with it. Do you see problems in the world and then act on it and do something about it, or do you just dwell on that problem and see, oh yeah, the world is fucked, but I'm not going to do anything about it? Because when people follow that route, that is often what makes them unhappy. And then a second factor of how cynicism can help you is its emphasis on reason and self-reliance. Again, principles that are really core to most philosophies around personal development. Again, Stoics, right? One of the most popular philosophies for young men in the present day, having a Stoic mentality. They focus on that self-reliance and that resilience, having an internal locus of control rather than relying on everyone else on the outside, or assuming that all the problems in the world come from the outside and you can't do anything about it. It's really important that you take ownership in your personal growth, and particularly if you've been struggling with your mental health. As somebody who is prone to depression and anxiety and has been at the point of suicide multiple times, I can tell you, when you get caught up in that idea of everything being out of your control and you not being able to have any self-reliance, it strips away your belief and your recognition of your own agency and your ability to make change and expand and grow. It completely disappears. So again, using cynicism right here in focusing on your own self-reliance rather than seeing it through the lens of everything in the world is fucked and I can't do anything about it, that can significantly improve your mood and help you in your journey with seizing opportunities, particularly around things like launching a business. If you understand that when you're launching a business, when you go into entrepreneurship, when you quit the 9-to-5, you're on your own pretty much with this. You build communities, but you have to be reliant on yourself. And when you have that belief in self-reliance and the ability to do it, it makes it a lot easier for you in that journey. And our third example is the rejection of materialism. And again, this just makes perfect sense, rejection of materialism, because ultimately you can buy so many things that just don't bring you any true fulfillment. We always see that. It's well known that people who have a lot of money and they're living lavishly all the time, it often isn't satisfying them. They make more and more money, they gain more and more assets, particularly material assets, but deep down behind that all, they're craving something else. And a cynical person is probably likely to see this already and perhaps use that as one of the reasons why they don't aspire to become wealthy. And I'm not saying that, like, I personally do think you should aspire to become financially wealthy, but at the same time, you should aspire to be internally and spiritually wealthy. And one of the ways that you're going to do that is by navigating your relationship with materialism. Perhaps if you're looking at building wealth, understand, why do you actually want to do it? Is it for something greater, like a virtue like freedom, or is it because you value altruism and you want to generate that wealth so that you can help other people, put money into charities or invest in projects? This is a key example of how cynicism can help you in navigating your relationship to the desire for material assets, of which there is so much exposure to it every day with the constant bombardment of advertisements and marketing that we have around us in the digital world. Now, the next area that I want to focus on with cynicism that I personally can really relate to, and I think is very important, is how cynicism emphasized rejection of societal norms, right? As I mentioned earlier, Diogenes used to flash in public a lot, and the cynics apparently used to do this as well. And I'm not saying you need to go out and start helicoptering in the middle of Piccadilly Circus, but rejecting societal norms can be pivotal in bringing about positive change, because it's that similar trait that you have in entrepreneurship, in creating innovative products. People reject what they're seeing is out there at the moment already, and they're coming up with something new, whether that is through financial entrepreneurship, so business, or whether it's social entrepreneurship, starting new charities or starting new social causes, starting movements, right? Cynicism as a philosophy allows people to identify problems in the world very easily, and cynical people, particularly intelligent people, are often very good at identifying issues with the world because they're more in tune to it and they're more critical and analytical in the way they view things. And because of that, again, instead of just leaving it, it also gives you that opportunity to then create solutions to those problems. So here, rejecting social norms, cynicism provides another opportunity for you to make substantial growth and have a much larger impact on the society around you as well. And a final example of how rejecting social norms was advocated in Cynic philosophy is by encouraging people to be open and to be authentic, because this is a really core part in your personal growth. Many people in their personal development journey are trying to be something that they're not. They're following other people's philosophies. They're following the guidance of what worked for one person, but it perhaps isn't working for them. And the average person in today's world, because they go into traditional employment where you're assigned a purpose by an employer, where society assigns you your purpose, people's authenticity and their true self gets repressed. We live in a world where repression of self through the work environment and sacrificing what you actually want to do is the norm. And that's why there's now a huge opportunity with the digital economy, the creator economy, for people to build audiences and monetize their actual interests and their true self. So again, cynicism provides the opportunity for you to double down on your true authentic self and be used to help you build something that is aligned with what you really want. And as an avenue for that, I would say doing a business online is a key way to do it. When you're your true self, when you're your authentic self online, you can build that relevant community. So there's a real opportunity here for you to harness cynicism and the value of authenticity to bring you more fulfillment in your life and help others with it again. So look, to summarize, if you are prone to cynicism, that isn't a bad thing in itself. It's understandable why that happens, particularly if you are an intelligent person who was socialized into that. For me, that is exactly what happened. My parents are both very intelligent people, but highly cynical, and neither of them, I'd say, were particularly happy. They never did well in their careers or made any real money, and I can see how that cynical worldview really stood in the way, and I can see it with other intellectual people that I know too. So if you are one of those people, right, understand that you're prone to that philosophy, but really look into it. Like, do you need to be looking at the world so critically? Because if you do just view everything through a pessimistic and critical lens, chances are it is going to make you unhappy. It is going to keep you locked in things that you might be right about, but it doesn't help you progress. It doesn't help your life progress, and you don't want to end up being a bitter intellectual, because what fulfillment does that bring you? Right, again, you're right about things. You understand things that other people don't do, but it just leads to more resentment and bitterness. So really understand how you can harness your critical thinking and your ability to see things that other people can't for your personal growth and for the betterment of the other people around you. And if you're new to this channel, I help ambitious young men to unleash their potential through personal development as a combination of business, mindset, physical well-being, and this is what I talk about on this channel. So if you are somebody who is currently stuck in a rut, but you know that you have ambition and you want to achieve more, and you know that you have potential that hasn't been released yet, whether it's because you're stuck in the 9-5, whether it's because you've got some mental obstacles, whatever it may be, I want to help you with that. And the best way for that to happen is for you to just drop me a DM on Instagram or book in a call. The links are both below. We'll have a quick chat, see if we can work together, and then we go from there. But other than that, I will see you all in the next video.